This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. I probably should have included this in episode 1000. This is episode 1001. And episode 1000 was about Jerry Parker, the turtle trader, the most successful of all the turtle traders. What follows now is the audiobook chapter about Jerry from my book, The Complete Turtle Trader. I'm sure some of you have read the book. I'm sure some of you have not. Maybe you even have the audiobook. But this is a great bookend to go along with episode 1000. A little more information on Jerry. And before I play this audiobook chapter, if you have any questions about trend following, drop me a line. I'm easy to reach. My first name at my last name.com. Michael@covel.com. And if you drop me an email, I will send you a video that will give you a few trend following insights, guaranteed to help you make money. Without any further delay, let's jump right into my chapter from the book, The Complete Turtle Trader, about Jerry Parker. Enjoy.
Chapter 11. Seizing Opportunity. A good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan next week. General George S. Patton. Imagine driving to Mannequin Sabbath, outside of Richmond, Virginia, to see Jerry Parker's office in 1994. The last thing you would have anticipated was an unassuming colonial-style brick and wood building that looked as though it might house a local insurance company or real estate office. It was situated in a field along a country road. Describing my feeling upon seeing it as thunderstruck would be an understatement. Actually entering Parker's office was like walking into the old, musty office of your neighborhood attorney, who at 70 was about to retire. The front office staff was friendly, unpretentious, and informal. In contrast to that original office, Parker's new office, opened in 1995 approximately 10 miles away, has a far more gracious feeling of Southern gentility and success. From the entrance, 2 staircases spiral up each side of the room to a top landing area. However, today visitors can no longer stroll in unannounced. Smoked glass windows, video cameras, and a request for identification are not surprising precautions in today's security-conscious society. What remains true to Parker's down-to-earth character is that his current office is located across from a 1960s-style strip mall that includes a salon, Mary Lou & Company, Hair, Nails, and Wigs. Soccer moms park in the Chesapeake Capitol parking lot to pick up their children at the church-run preschool next door. A turtle is making a fortune in suburban Richmond, and no one is paying attention. Moreover, one would never guess the financial disparity between Parker and other turtles from the furnishings of his private office. It is nondescript, almost utilitarian, except for a small turtle on his desk. Yet the gap between him and his former partner Sands is arguably now $1 billion in net worth. The reasons for that are arguably more important to understand than the rules originally taught the turtles. The bottom line is that Jerry Parker, Liz Cheval, Tom Shanks, Howard Seidler, Jim DeMaria, Paul Raybar, and their teacher Bill Eckhart had entrepreneurial skills beyond trading Dennis's rules. They had something extra. The people who excel in any field are people who realize that the moment is to be seized, that there are opportunities at every turn. They're more alive to the moment. Did Dennis think that in the long run all of his students would be alive to the moment? Back in 1986, long before the Turtles were out on their own, he was asked how he would have reacted to his ad. He responded, "I guess I would have applied." I have no doubt that for the people who got the job, it was the best job that has ever come along for them. Obviously, not all 14 are going to be the greatest traders who ever lived, but I think there are 2 or 3 who could be really excellent. R. Jerry Parker, Jr. became excellent. A graduate of Ferrum College and the University of Virginia, he is a devoted Christian and family man who, along with his wife, homeschooled their 3 children. Even though he is comparatively straight-laced, Parker still makes time to kick back and enjoy life, especially sports. He made sure he got good seats at Chicago Bulls games when they were winning championships with Michael Jordan. Today, he still cheers on his University of Virginia Cavaliers basketball team at the new John Paul Jones Arena in Charlottesville. Parker was certainly not considered the success he is today while working for Dennis. He ended his first year trading as a turtle down 10%, before regrouping to have 3 stellar years. But keep in mind that he did not make the most money while working for Dennis, in large part due to Dennis's allotment of allocations, not his performance. Parker may have had some regrets about the way his mentor parceled out money, but those years under Dennis were central to his development. The confidence he gained while trading for Dennis was his biggest lesson. The most important experience that led me to utilize a technical approach was the amount of success that I experienced trading Rich's system. What was the critical experience he gained under Dennis? It's important to live with someone who says, "It's okay to lose money." Tom Shanks agreed wholeheartedly with Parker about the need for a mentor. By far, the structure of what I do is based on Richard's systems, and certainly, philosophically, everything I do in terms of trading is based on what I learned from Richard. Parker and Dennis are still political opposites. Today, Parker is one of the most influential backers of Republican candidates in the state of Virginia. He has contributed over $500,000 to mostly conservative candidates since 1995. While he has ruled out a run for political office so far, his wealth and political power put him on the short list of potential Virginia governors. Aspects of Parker's politics have universal appeal. He has said, "When there is a tax increase and the result is a surplus, the taxpayers should receive their money back. Just as when you pay too much for something in a store, you get your change back." Bottom line, Parker's earnings from 1988 through 2006 are the clearest demonstration yet that the story of the Turtles is relevant today. Using his publicly available disclosures and the size of his fund, and assuming a standard fee structure, the best educated guess of Parker's net worth is approximately $770 million. That number assumes no reinvesting for 20 years. If 10% growth is assumed and compounded annually, Parker's net worth could be as high as $1.75 billion. What separated Parker from other turtles? You had to be really smart to be hired by Dennis. It might be comforting to think that intelligence alone accounted for the turtles' trading success, but that would be an excuse. That said, many of the turtles were brilliant, so there is no intention here to slight their individual brain power. However, a high IQ is hardly the key to success in life, or Enron's hundreds of MBAs from the top schools in the country might have prevented its demise. Intelligence ensures absolutely nothing in the long run. Success requires something more. As it turns out, most CEOs at the biggest corporations didn't attend Ivy League schools. They went to state universities, big and small, or to lesser-known private colleges. Most people would guess that the percentage of CEOs bearing Ivy League undergraduate degrees is far higher than the actual figure of only 10%. So what, beyond pure intelligence, enabled Parker's 20 years of great performance? The Maginot Line between those turtles who achieved huge trading success after working for Dennis and those who failed at trading came down to an understanding and application of entrepreneurial skills. The turtles had to have trading rules, but without entrepreneurial savvy, they were doomed. Nancy Upton and Don Sexton, professors at Baylor University, who have long studied entrepreneurs, pinpointed traits possessed by Parker and other entrepreneurs. 1. Nonconformists. Lower need to conform, indicating self-reliance. 2. Emotionally aloof. Not necessarily cold to others, but can be oblivious. 3. Skydivers. Lower concern for physical harm, but does change with age. 4. Risk takers. More comfortable taking it. 5. Socially adroit. More persuasive. 6. Autonomous. Higher need for independence. 7. Change seekers. Like novel approaches. This is different than 99% of all other people. 8. Energetic. Higher need and/or ability to work longer. 9. Self-sufficient. Don't need as much sympathy or reassurance. But they still need to form networks, so self-sufficiency need not be taken to extremes. We shouldn't underestimate those 9 factors. Dennis turned on the lights and supplied the brokers, the money, and the system. With Dennis out of the picture, the Turtles had to answer for themselves as to whether or not they had the ability and the desire to succeed on their own. Their dilemma, whether they knew it or not at the time, could be solved by how well they applied only those 9 traits. Jerry Parker applied the 9 traits out of the gate, which some Turtles proved unable or unwilling to do. Parker always had the self-confidence to believe that one day his earnings could rival those of Dennis. Other Turtles, when seeing firsthand Dennis earn $80 million in 1986, may have thought, "That could never be me." A few confessed that they just felt lucky to be a turtle, and when describing their peers, some used words like timid or gun-shy. No one ever described Parker like that. Although he didn't say so directly, he was referencing those 9 characteristics of an entrepreneur when he spoke about what it really takes to be a success. He said, "We're not really interested in people who are experts at the French stock markets or German bond markets. It doesn't take a huge monster infrastructure, not Harvard MBAs and people from Goldman Sachs." Lauren Pope, author of Colleges That Change Lives, a book extolling the virtues of small liberal arts colleges, appreciated the deeper meaning in Parker's wisdom. The Ivies and other A-League schools have a lot of prestige because they're supposed to open doors and lead to successful careers. But parents who expect the Ivies to ensure their kids' success are going to be disappointed. The old boy network isn't much good in an economy like this. It's competence that counts. Competence is not easy to acquire. Parker saw life as a turtle as pretty easy by comparison to his solo operation. He recalled, "Trading for Rich, you got in at 7 a.m., and at 2 p.m. you watched the Cubs game." But once he became a money manager for clients, he had to raise money, hire people, do research, track his performance, and trade. The degree to which you are successful will be partly because of your buys and sells, but you're also running a business, hiring, making sure you have good accounting and legal and marketing systems in place. Parker's business acumen came from many sources beyond Dennis. His favorite book, for example, is Selling the Invisible, a modern-day marketing Bible. But Parker always brought it back to his training under Dennis. An honest, humble mentor is the best thing going. Learn from other people. Do the right thing every day, focus on what you're doing, and let the cards fall where they may. After the Turtle program ended, Jim DeMaria had no doubts about the cards falling right for Parker. Jerry wanted to raise a lot of money. He said it from day one. Decide what you really want. Following the Market Wizards books, many Turtles were content to bask in their fame without making the true effort needed to build a solid business. Parker's goal was not to be on the front cover of magazines, although he did once appear on the cover of Financial Trader in 1994, leaning against the white picket fence surrounding his suburban Richmond estate. No, what he wanted was Master of the Universe profits. Jonathan Craven was the second person hired at Chesapeake Capital. Today, Craven runs his own trading firm with $20 million under management. He never forgot Parker's core principles. Parker said, "You have to have faith in 2 things. When Craven asked, "What's that?" Parker said, "God and your system." Craven added, "You have to have faith that your system works. Otherwise, you would get 1 hour of sleep a night." What was Craven getting at? Many people think the Jerry Parkers of the world have systems or rules that limit them to certain markets. Upon learning of a trader like Parker, they naively assume he trades only commodities. The reality is that Parker applies Dennis's philosophy to all markets. He seeks to apply Dennis's original principles globally in all markets around the world. He doesn't care what market: Chinese porcelain, gold, silver, markets that exist, markets that don't exist today, the markets that others are making lots of money in that he is not trading. Craven learned that philosophy of diversity while under Parker's tutelage. The number of markets they traded was always in flux. We could have 65 markets, or we could have 30. Craven was once asked, "Are you always in the market? What's the maximum number of positions you could have on at any one time?" Craven responded, "It all depends. If the markets are going sideways, theoretically 0. If the markets are trending up or down, I could have 65 positions." Unfortunately, what Parker does to make money in all those markets is often confused with jargon terms like managed futures and commodity trading advisor. Both are government terms for hedge funds. In many cases, traders have been guilty of compounding the confusion, as Parker was quick to admit. I think another mistake we made was defining ourselves as managed futures, where we immediately limit our universe. Is our expertise in that, or is our expertise in systematic trend following or model development? Maybe we trend follow with Chinese porcelain. Maybe we trend follow with gold and silver or stock futures or whatever the client needs. We need to look at the investment world globally and communicate our expertise of systematic trading. Communicating his expertise has always been a challenge. People with trading philosophies that run counter to Parker's have actively spun the word commodity as something negative. It can't be said enough. Turtle trend following is a strategy. These traders trade financial instruments across the globe, ranging from stocks to currencies to energies to wheat to gold to bonds to commodities. Even though Parker has had a great run, he is still fighting the kind of uphill battle that sunk many of his turtle peers. He knows that people look at systematic and computerized trading with too much skepticism. He said, "I think we've miscommunicated to our clients what our expertise really is. Our methods will work on lots of different markets, the ones that are hot today and the ones that are not hot today." He could have been William Eckhart in the Turtles classroom in 1984. There was no change in the message. The problem with fundamentals. Like many top hedge fund players today, Parker gives back to his community. He donated $500,000 to the University of Virginia for the Chesapeake Capital Trading Room. It was designed as a real-world, highly sophisticated trading atmosphere. Bob Webb, who is the director of the McIntyre Center for Financial Innovation at UVA, graciously gave a tour of the facility. With numerous trading desks and large quote screens on the walls, you appreciate where every dollar of Parker's donation went. Webb, who is a finance professor at UVA, sees the Chesapeake Capital Trading Room as the ideal environment to illustrate real-time events in financial markets. Students are able to examine the financial market's reaction to news events. Working there allows them to look at recent changes and explore what factors promoted the changes. Webb says that students get their feet wet right away. They're able to make predictions based on real events from the first day of class. They can then look at factors that later cause prices to change, and that helps them to make better decisions. One business student, unaware of Parker and the original Turtle training environment, that office with cube dividers and no TVs, excitedly described the new Chesapeake Capital Trading Room. "It's fantastic to be able to use the software to look up information about any company. You can get balance sheets, income statements, ratios, growth patterns, just about anything." The irony, of course, is that Parker would never use just about anything to make his trading decisions. The contradictions between Parker and these statements by a UVA professor and student are not intentional. Webb, an accomplished professor, simply teaches a philosophy that sharply contrasts with Parker's. For example, consider Webb's view that individuals at the Federal Reserve beyond the chairman can impact financial market prices through their comments. He said, "One consequence is that traders must monitor the comments of a number of individuals at the Federal Reserve System." Webb's advice is plausible to many on Wall Street and Main Street who follow fundamental analysis, but his observations do not line up with the trading approach of the Chesapeake Capital Trading Room's benefactor. Like his mentor, Richard Dennis, Parker wouldn't consider monitoring multiple voices at the Fed to make a trading decision for a nanosecond. Consider, for example, Parker's standard disclosure. Chesapeake believes that future price movements in all markets may be more accurately anticipated by historical price movements within a quantitative or technical analysis than by fundamental economic analysis. With that kind of clear statement of intent, how did students enjoying the Chesapeake Room at UVA miss understanding Parker's trading style? Over his career, Parker has repeatedly gone out of his way to educate everyone that technical traders need no particular expertise in the markets they trade, saying, "They do not need to be an authority on meteorological phenomena, geopolitical occurrences, or the economic impact of specific worldwide events on a particular market." Parker often borders on exasperation as he fights to get that message across. If the alternative is massive diversification stocks only, buy and hold, or listen to some analyst with a fundamental point of view, well, you see what that's got us. That logic can be hard for people to accept. Investors want big money potential along with a sophisticated story that makes sense fundamentally. And even if investors understand Parker's turtle style enough to invest, they don't want to watch their account equity going up and down. Even Parker's clients focus constantly on monthly rates of return. They hold him to a high standard with admonitions like, "Don't give back my monthly profit. I am concerned with all of this monthly data," and "You're behind this month versus last month." Parker said flatly, "It is crazy." He added, "I think that risk from initial capital, losing 10%, that's a serious thing. If I'm up 50%, now I'm up 40%, that's a whole different thing, but not to clients, not to the ratios. So we're screwing around with our profitability when we're playing with the market's money and trying to fine-tune the performance table so we don't have what looks like a risky investment, even though it's risky, but a much different risk than the risk on initial capital, so I think it's ridiculous." Dressing up his performance to make it more palatable to nervous clients is not something Parker likes. "No matter how well we do, I'm always being met with people who are telling me, 'Doesn't matter how much money you make or how well you do, I just don't like your style. I don't like the style that relies upon price only. I don't like commodities, and it's hocus pocus.' When we're down 20%, my gracious, they think we're on our way out of business. I've actually had people calling me on the telephone when maybe we're down minus 12%, and they'd say, 'You're never going to come back. You're never going to make money. Forget it.' But if NASDAQ's down minus 40%, that's a pretty good buying opportunity." The odd truth about fundamental traders is that behind closed doors, they often trade very similarly to Parker. In public, they might talk about the NASDAQ down 40% as a good buying opportunity, a value play, but for their actual trading, they look for trends. Parker saw this contradiction firsthand when he was purchasing quantitative information from Ned Davis, a well-known analyst on Wall Street. Parker was getting faxes every day, and he would compare Davis's analysis to his own positions. Parker, the trained skeptic, said to the staff at Davis's office, "It looks like a lot of times, almost all the time, my positions are the same as yours." They told Parker, "That's true because even with all our good analysis, if we don't put a trend-following component in it, it doesn't do very well." That said, the most successful turtle doesn't sugarcoat his style of trading. He addresses the drawbacks head-on. When he compares his philosophy to a form of government, he sounds like a down-to-earth Sunday school preacher. "Trend following is like a democracy. Sometimes it doesn't look so good, but it's better than anything else out there. Are we going to rely on buy and hold? Buy and hope, that's what I call it. Are we going to double up when we lose money? The world is too big to analyze. The fundamentals are too large. We need to aggressively, unrepentantly, sell trend following and describe it as it is, a system of risk controls that gets in the right markets at the right times and limits the disaster scenarios. Hedge fund blow-ups. In Jerry Parker's world, the unexpected eventually happens. If you think the world is tidy, get ready for the hurricane to blow you away. For example, if there's a good side to the 2006 implosion of the Amaranth hedge fund, to the tune of $6 billion, it's the embarrassment suffered by the state and city pension funds that invested in it. And in Amaranth's case, its name, a mythical flower that never fades, may have held a hidden meaning. The secondary meaning? A pigweed. And pigweed all started with mean reversion. This term, with its academic overtone, may make some people cringe, but understanding its ramifications lies at the heart of why hedge funds Amaranth and long-term capital management went belly up. What is mean reversion? Over the long haul, market prices have a tendency to revert to the mean. That is, studies have conclusively shown that when stock prices, or any price for that matter, gets overextended to the upside or to the downside, they eventually fall back in line with averages. However, stock prices do not exactly snap back into place overnight. They can remain overvalued or undervalued for extended periods of time. That extended period of time is the sandbar that sinks ships. People who bet on markets behaving in an orderly fashion, arbitrage, are panning for fool's gold. Parker and the other turtles learned a long time ago from Dennis that the hard thing to do is the right thing to do. Mean reversion works almost all of the time. Then it stops and you're kind of out of business. The market is always reverting to the mean except when it doesn't. Who wants a system like we have? 40% winners losing money almost all the time, always in a drawdown, making money on about 10% of your trades. The rest of them are sort of break-even to losers, infrequent profits. I much prefer the mean reversion where I have 55% winners, 1% or 2% returns per month. I'm always right. I'm always getting positive feedback. Then, maybe in 8 years, you're kind of out of business, because when it doesn't revert to the mean, your philosophy loses. Hearing Parker's Southern cadence as he preaches about mean reversion hits home. Consider an example that makes his point. Let's say an investor gives a trader money because his 2-year track record shows he made 2% every month with no down months. 6 years later, that same fund blows up and that investor's retirement is gone because the strategy was predicated on mean reversion. It is human nature to believe in mean reversion, but as Parker says, it just is a fatal strategy of trading the markets. Fatal is the kind of word that grabs you by the throat. Most of the time is not a good enough bet. The bottom line, those 100-year floods that give mean reversion traders solace really occur every 2 or 3 years, and they can and do wipe out fortunes. James River Capital. Back in the summer of 1994, the sign outside Parker's offices in Mannequin-Sabot, Virginia, listed 2 firm names, Chesapeake Capital and James River Capital. Since James River Capital smacked of state of Virginia geography, it could have been anything. It turns out that it was actually the new name for the firm that had risen from the ashes of Kidder Peabody's managed futures division. Jonathan Craven saw how critical James River Capital was to Chesapeake Capital's start. He said, "I met Jerry through somebody I knew at James River Capital. Those guys introduced me to Jerry and I got hired in March of 1990. We were renting space from James River for a long time." Investor Bradley Rotter added, "Jerry Parker did a very wise thing early on in his career. He associated himself with Paul Saunders and Kevin Brandt. What Parker did was wise for good reason. Brokerage firms were the perfect partners to sell the turtles to the public as something sexy. On the other hand, Earl Kiefer thought Parker's success had an element of rolling the dice. You would have never picked who, when they left the Turtle program, would be phenomenal or not phenomenal. I think it was a crapshoot. Crapshoot is not quite accurate, but Kiefer saw an element of randomness in Parker's stratospheric rise. What if it was another time in history that was for the, so to speak, gambler? Then it would be Tom Shanks who would be trading $1 billion, and Jerry Parker would be trading $250 million. I know a couple of other turtles who didn't want to trade public money. They wanted to drive a race car rather than an aircraft carrier. Kiefer saw other turtles who could have had Parker's level of success. He said, if Paul Raybar would have got with those guys at Kidder Peabody rather than Jerry, Paul Raybar would be the one that you're writing about as trading $1 billion or $2 billion. However, Kiefer was not slighting Parker. Jerry was at the right place at the right time, and what he did is he did not impede himself. I say that in the most positive of ways. Too many of us are presented with an opportunity in life and we hesitate. Exactly. At the end of the day, Parker had to swing and hit the ball hard to win the game. He had to make it happen. Parker whipped the bat through the strike zone with ferocity. However, don't expect to see Parker on CNBC explaining how to make money on unpredictable disasters. Don't expect to see him on Fox News debating politics with Hannity and Colmes. You have a better chance of meeting Parker at the local Richmond, Virginia area Starbucks. The lesson? Be alert when buying your next morning coffee. You just might meet a good trader to handle your retirement money or the needed benefactor for your political run.
I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.